Good evening, everyone. My name is Paige Disler, and I'm an MFA intern, and I will be your co-host for tonight's Wil Talk with Artists. Our digital discussion tonight is with painter Siana Smith. Siana Smith is a fine artist who was born in China and immigrated to the US in the 90s. Siana's large-scale paintings consist of figurative and still life moments that symbolize her self-reflective journey with material goods. This exploration of her emotions and understanding of the world's commodities also confronts the viewer's psychological connection with them. Additionally, I'd like to introduce the host of our show, Wil Scott. Wil is an art historian with an extensive career as a photographer and the former head of adult programs in the National Gallery of Art. He is uniquely qualified to bridge the gap between artists and the public. And with that, I will hand it over to your wonderful host, Wil.
All right. Thank you, Paige. Thank you for filling in at the last minute. Marissa, our usual co-host, couldn't be with us this evening. And thank you, Siana. I'm really interested in talking to you, of course, because of your work, but your personal history or your artistic / personal history is a little different from the other artists that I've been able to interview in the series. So I want to begin by asking you to tell all of the viewers a little bit about where you are. It looks like the cleanest studio in the world, or a very nice exhibition space. But I know there's more to it than that. So why don't you tell us a little bit about where you are and why you're there, how you got there?
Sure. Thank you. First, I want to thank MFA provide this such a wonderful platform for artists to share the work. And thank you so much, Paige and Wil, to be the host and have a conversation with me. My name is Siana Smith, and I am actually here in Texas, Navasota. Navasota is a town close to College Station. It's a real town. And they have this is Holocaust art gallery and also a historic museum. So here I'm having my 6-month residency here, artist in residence here till next year, March. So, and I'm very fortunate going through the application and the interview process and being selected to be one of the 2 artists in residence and stay in the Holocaust and have the exhibition, solo exhibition here.
Well, congratulations. It looks like a wonderful opportunity. As I commented before, the space is quite nice. I do have a question though. Yes. You're there rather in Texas, and your work is so much about commodification, contemporary society. And I've traveled a little in Texas, and it's not like the rest of the United States in a lot of ways. And I think you're in a location that's fairly rural rather than urban.
Yeah, sort of. And it's close. They have like 7,000-8,000 people in Navasota, and a lot of history and beautiful buildings with a lot of story. And it's very close to College Station, which is a big,
Well, here's my real question. Given the subject of your art and the emphasis on sort of modern commercial technological society, you are doing a residency for a long term in a place that is a little outside of the mainstream of that. Did that affect your thinking about whether to apply to this particular residency, and how has it affected your work you've produced since you got there?
Yeah, for an artist, after I graduate last year, got my MFA from California College of the Art, and I have been applying for residency. It's such a privilege to be able to get into one and just focus on my art, painting, and don't be interrupted. So this is like after a lot of application, and then I got accepted. I'm just really thrilled about this opportunity. So before I come here, I started with, this is a body of work I'm going to work on and develop, continue. This summer, I have like some kind of understanding why am I drawing so much to the commodity. So
Yeah.
my painting is mostly is like talking about portraying myself, my emotion, my psychic, and how that impact my internal world. So, but when I come here, yes, I just feel like people are very nice, very just super nice. And also I walk around the town and see all those history and those Victoria style building, which I don't see often in California, you know, in the Silicon Valley, not very often. So I get very drawn to that part. And so I am also developing more nature painting. Yeah. So here is like the first months I'm here, I'm just so I can focus. I did like these 7, well, in different stage, not totally done yet, 7 commodity pieces just in the past month. So, but
were they commodities like cow ropes or horse saddles or things that are
oh, thank you for giving me ideas. Maybe I will be inspired to paint some like cowboy boots. Yeah. Saddles. Yeah, that's a good idea. They have a lot of antique stores nearby. I can,
well, just
I can wonder.
a random thought. I know that whenever I go to the West, I'm always drawn to those distinctive things. And since you're interested in commodities and those kinds of issues, I'm surprised that you haven't already done that. But
it will come. Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Well, speaking of commodities, right behind you over your right shoulder are 2 large lipstick paintings. And that is one of the images that we have racked up for the PowerPoint. So lipstick is, as an image, as a thing, I think is terribly fraught. And it's fraught within the tradition of modern American painting even. So what does the lipstick mean to you? Why have you taken this little small compact thing and made it, what, 3 or 4 feet high? What are you trying to communicate?
Yeah, so I feel like I started with things around me. Look at the lipsticks I have, and I'm just like, why we use lipsticks, women, right? And then lipstick, it's a very feminine item, like women's use that to you know, charming, whatever, but yet it's in a very phallic form. So I feel like these lipsticks have both the male and the female element in it. So then I just want to, you know, have a conversation with my audience. And then I like to use, this is a smaller size compared to the lipstick I painted the first one. I called it a weapon. So that one was about 6 feet tall, 26 inches wide. And I use a worm's eye view. So like it's almost to me like a monument to the viewer, and it's large. And also it's on a 50-pound aluminum metal. So it's a 1/4 inch thick. So the physicality of it, I just want to use that to emphasize the subject matter, the subject and the subject matter.
I'm going to go out on a limb and ask you a couple of questions about what the significance is to you as a woman. And I hope I don't dig myself too deep a hole that I can't climb out of. But the other thing that I wanted to reference first is that Klaus Oldenburg and a lot of the pop artists that were influential in America and Europe in the late 50s and the 60s and the 70s took objects such as that and treated them in a similar way. In your education and your personal growth as an artist, are you familiar with those artists? Are you conscious of maybe even commenting upon their approach to similar subjects? Or are you really focused on what these things mean to you?
Yeah, I'm very glad you mentioned that. So I have to say that I didn't look at his sculpting on the tank. I'm so glad I didn't. I was not aware of that. After I painted, then, oh, if I know about that, I probably, this whole series would never happen. So like, lipstick is just one aspect. So I have other talk about the like a feminine. I'm more from like a feminine point of view, and what this lipstick do to us, feminine. You know, are we pleasing ourselves or are we pleasing the world? And then how about the male gaze? So I want engage a conversation like, why do we want all those commodities, right? So I'm glad I was not aware of it, and like I just go with it with lipsticks, purses, and shoes. And
Well, I'm glad I asked you
goggles,
that because that would have very much affected me, and I'm an art historian, but it would have affected me to know that you were aware and that you know, it's given me a different way of evaluating and engaging your work. So I'm glad we got that out of the way. And now I want to go back to what you actually said and what I feel like I might be going out on a limb. You referred to the lipsticks as a weapon, and you referred to the physicality of the large one. As soon as you said weapon, I internally agreed with you 110%, but I'm not sure that I'm thinking of the same things you are. So are you interrogating the roles of men and women and the expectations of men and women in American society when you paint something like the lipsticks?
See, I do agree with saying death of the author. So once my painting is out in the world, it's up to the viewers to interpret how they look at it. Some people just take a picture with the paintings like, wow, this is like looks pretty, beautiful. But I do not want to just portray something pretty and beautiful. I embed, there's a sense of darkness to the commodities. So I focus on that, but then if people get it or like have a different view or like I originally intended, then it's a different story. So in the lipstick, like this one here, and also the lipstick, the red, the big one, I make the top very unnaturally sharp. So make it as a weapon, right? So like, is this a woman, weapon for the woman, or is that like pleasing the male gaze? So I will leave that to the audience, and I would like to start a conversation with the audience. You know, everybody has their own perspective.
Yes. Well, I really appreciate the way that you articulated that. I feel that, well, we see it. I was just watching the news and eating dinner with my wife before I came downstairs. And we see all these demonstrations around the world. We see what's happening in our own country. And women do not have the power that they have earned and deserve. But I've always, maybe this is sexist or something, but I've always said that a woman with a nice shiny lipstick and a few other tools, and she can make most men, at least some of the time, do whatever she wants. You know, women have a different kind of power, but they get it too much in history through using devices like lipstick, not their real intelligence and talents and characters. That is what should give them the power that some women have been able to get, and more, but I'm afraid it's not an accomplished goal for society yet. We can see that. So are you thinking about any of those kinds of political, social issues that affect the whole world when you do something like this?
Yes, absolutely. This feminist has always like subline in my painting. You can see all my paintings, like Pink Backpack and all the other paintings, is like I'm seeing the world. I portray, everything is a portraying of myself, my inner world, how I see it as a woman artist, as a mother, as a daughter, you know, as a consumer, see the world. Definitely have that feminine, message.
Well, again, I'm glad we're having this conversation, because I'm not sure that I could have taken that out and given it its full significance without our conversation. But as soon as we've already had enough of a conversation that I can just look at the images that are behind you on the wall and connect that. And I think that makes them unfold and have even a richer and more complex message. And talking about that, there's one behind you that depicts a tank and a face appearing sort of out of the mist, if you will.
Yeah,
And I
So
briefly
this
asked you about
painting,
that, and you told me of the way that it connects to your personal life roles, particularly as a mother. And I'm just,
yes.
that's really a challenging thing, a tank and a face, and that's connected to your role as a mother. So can you unpack that for us all? Because I think it's a fascinating idea that you have there.
Yeah, thank you for asking. So this painting, I did it at my first year in SFAI for my first year of my MFA study. So I called it battle. It's like a pun, almost like a pun painting. So battle, it is a battle scene. I juxtaposition the day and the night scenes and the tank and the guns. So my son likes playing games. And then I float his face, his reflection of the console on the painting, on this scene. So also it's a battle of me against those machines, those technologies, the virtual world game. So I feel like as a mother, I'm fighting with those games, trying to get my son's attention. So sadly to say, I feel like I'm losing this battle. Machines bring all kinds of convenience to us, but in this sense, I'm just, yeah, I feel like I'm losing battle.
So how old's your son now?
He is 27.
27? And
Yes,
so does he live on his own? Does he have a family?
yes.
Does he have?
Yeah, so this is pretty much he is still playing a lot of games.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of people do. Men and women enjoy them. It's funny though, when my son was 15, our main struggle was to keep him off the phone all evening with his friends, guys and girls, and to stop him from stuffing half-eaten food into the piles of clothing and stuff in the corners of his room. He likes games, but that wasn't our biggest issue.
Well, that to me as a mom is like a big issue at the moment. So, what I do as an artist, I paint about it.
Yeah. So it doesn't have anything to do with the Ukraine. It doesn't have anything to do with the specific world political conflict or anything like that.
This is like a late 2019, not really about Ukraine. So the lipsticks, the weapon too, I sort of like the flag color a little bit there.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but no, this is not about Ukraine. Yeah.
So is it fair to say, as we move forward, that anytime we look at one of your paintings, we should, now that we know something about you, think about how that might be reflective of your life and the roles that you occupy in your life?
Yes, I think that's a very good statement. So all the painting, I just have some thinking about behind it. It's actually really, it's portraying of my own feeling.
Yeah.
Well,
let's go ahead and look at more of the images that we have in the PowerPoint then, and we can dig into that a little bit.
Sure.
I really like this. There's
Thank
just
you.
something so strong, and I don't mean that in like physical strength. It's just a very compelling image, I think.
Thank you.
We've talked a little bit about the lipsticks, though, and this issue of women's roles in society. So let's jump ahead to the next one. This one is a little hard for me to read, and I only think that's because it's a it's a large image on my screen, but it's not the full-size image. Are these women's handbags, and how many are there?
There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 6 bags and the clutches, and I just after take the picture, I just twisted and cropped it and a very tight crop. I believe Roscoe said, large is intimacy instead of like usually people think about the small is intimacy, because this is like such large scale. Actually, I can show you, it's right on the wall here.
Yeah.
So it's 4 feet by 5 feet. So I want to use this large scale to really create an intimacy. You can go in there and render the texture. You can feel it. You can, But what I'm trying to say is this kind of excessiveness, right? Excessiveness of these things. How many bags? Like most women have more than one
Oh, yes.
handbags, right?
In my house.
So yeah. So I look around. It's like, why have so many handbags when so many commodities, right? I play usually a little bit about the vanitas, the Netherlandish steel painting, and if you can notice on the left upper corner, that the little skull. So that's a little bit about this vanitas concept. So, and this excessiveness, I hope people would wonder, where is that come from? All these commodities has to come from somewhere. We have to extract from Earth. That's why I started all those impact to our environmental. So that's like leads to my other body of work, the apocalyptic, talk about the environment impact. Yes.
Well, you're able to paint these things, these objects, this merchandise in a very visually appealing way. You handle paint very well, you handle color and texture very well. And so on one level, there seems to me to be sort of a conflict within what you're trying to do, because they're so visually appealing, but you're actually asking people to think about the amount of time, money, et cetera, that we invest in possessing things. Do you think of that as your painting, that maybe you're making your subjects sometimes too appealing, too positive?
Yeah, I get that. I hear that too. My painting, like, sometimes can be controversial. People would say, oh, are you for or are you against? So like nowadays, I make my painting I want to make my message even more clear. So if you can see the new work, it's also purse, but there's a bubble there. Yeah. So I float the bubble there is like another message, right? It's also shining, beautiful bubble, but you know what? Bubble burst. So all these things you have, you're not going to last forever. Eventually, it's just, what do we use that for? That's I really question. So you are right. Some people just think, oh, you are like for these commodities. So like this is a journey. Actually, my painting is like a journey I'm doing, like self-reflect, looking inside myself. As I go deeper, it's like asking myself, why do you get all those bags? Why do you like those things? And then like find out the reason. And then with deeper understanding, I want to start all this.
Yes.
This one, I painted exquisite. Yeah.
Well, I really want to ask you about your journey and the concept of journey that you've just identified. But first, the one thing about this painting that struck me, and now hearing you talk about it, it makes me think it might be really significant. In the upper left corner, that looks like a British flag, but of course the colors and the materials are all, they're not the British flag. So what does that symbolize, if anything, to you? Or was it just a pattern, an arrangement of colors that fit into the composition?
So that is yes and no. So that cross to me has some kind of like, I like symbolism a lot. I just feel like there's the skull there, and then just reminds people. And also that the cross, I'm also trying to questioning, what are we worshiping? These commodities already beyond that their regular use, right? A bag is no longer a bag. A bag sometimes can carry more meaning, social meaning, society meaning. What kind of bag a woman carry, says something about her. So there's fashion, there's aesthetic value, I cannot deny that. But this is social impact. I carry certain brand names, certain things. How is that, influence us? So it's not just commodities, more than that.
Yeah. Well, I think that's well said. And while you were talking about it, I was in Milwaukee last week, and I went to a coffee shop where there was a woman who walked in with a macrame shoulder bag. I don't think I've seen many macrame shoulder bags since the 70s. So she's telling me something when she walks in with that macrame bag. And it was the whole ambiance of the place is where, oh yeah, I'm not surprised there's a woman who walked in with a macrame bag, but I bet you that nobody is going to walk in with a Valentino bag. You know, you're exactly right. People are saying things to the world by what they choose to put on their bodies and how they present themselves.
Yes.
So your journey, your short bio is interesting in the sense that you emphasize very much something that happened to you a few years ago on Mount Kilimanjaro. And the way that you wrote that brief statement left me wondering, well, what was that incident? And if you don't want to be specific, I appreciate that, and there's no reason to be. But what were you doing before that incident? And how was it that that incident on Mount Kilimanjaro allowed you, as you said, to focus on your art? That was going to be where you were going to direct your energies.
Oh, yeah. So I come to art at a later stage in my life. You know, before I come to America in the early 90s, and then I got my master's degree in computer science and work as a software engineer and raise a family. Then I was bird photography. So I travel all over the world trying to take bird pictures. Some of my bird photos are there. So go to Kilimanjaro. I just also did a safari in like Kenya area. The high altitude, I have the high altitude sickness. So I took those pill, and that thickens my blood. And then 20-hour flight doesn't help either. No. So luckily, I got back in the United States after a week. And then I found out like I have pulmonary embolism, basically blood clot in the lung. I couldn't breathe. So luckily, I went to emergency. My husband took me to the emergency room, and they won't let me go home. So I was hospitalized for, one week, and then had to take medicine for warfarin for about a year and check with the doctor. So that was really, like rubbing the death by the shoulder, sort of speaking. Yeah. So that moment really sort of like paused my busyness in life. I don't think much about my own life, and just busy doing different things, and not really think about who I am, what do I live for, what am I doing, all those questions. Like I feel like I was numb. I don't know the answer. I don't want to face it.
But what I hear you saying is that you had a busy and fulfilling life, but this is one of those moments where life tells you, hey, wait, I need to get your full attention for a little bit. And I need you to think about what you're going to do with the rest of your time. I had a similar experience in Salzburg, Austria, about 11 years ago. We're not here to talk about that, but I really empathize with what you said. And it's clear to me, looking at your work, that it's really put you into a direction of confidence and accomplishment and purpose. Is that fair?
Well, the confidence is little by little, but I will say as an artist, as a human myself, I constantly have to fight that the little negative voice is like questioning me, what are you doing?
Well, speaking of what you're doing, let's go ahead and look at the next image, because we have a couple of more and some interesting things to talk about. I think this speaks for itself, but I'm going to ask you to explain a few things like, is it important, the colors of the stones? Why does the hand have a Band-Aid on it? I know how I read this, but I want to know how you read it.
Oh, yeah. Thank you for noticing that. See, here is another controversial piece of mine. Some people would say, oh, is this a rich woman trying to showing off? But the bandage, thank you for pointing it out. Yeah, it's like a hurt, a symbol of hurting, right? And then if you can notice the the left finger, the ring finger, actually only have indentation. There's no ring on it. And in the middle finger has a bunch of rings stacked on it. Like it's turning purple. So is she really comfortable wearing so many rings on her, right? If you go up and see her half opened mouth, like the teeth smeared with lipstick, I was almost going to put a tear on the cheek, but I feel like I gave way too much, so I didn't didn't do that. So why the patients all give away is like using this pain of the finger to alleviate what. So then it leaves the audience to explore.
It's such an attention-grabbing image because that's a universal hand gesture throughout most of the world. It's universal, but yes. I thought also of looking at the woman's face, she seems very uncomfortable, even in pain. There's something that gesture is referring to. She's not comfortable in her situation. It has that kind of instantaneous, almost adolescent attention grabbing, but you immediately see that there's a lot more to be said. It's not just a clever sort of visual trick to get your attention.
I did borrow from Man Ray's photography, a couple of his photography, and put it together. I feel like, oh, maybe.
Yeah. Okay, next image, please. Is this the plight of young women in the modern world?
Yeah, so this, I got inspiration from my daughter gets sent home because of COVID, from the university, shelter in place. And then she cannot stay for, for a long time. She arranged this exploration with her friend, see the graffiti site in the Bay Area. Oh. So she's under the storm drain. The top is a storm drain, and the ground is, again, the graffiti cover the ground. This is, to me, is pretty much very, again, symbolic. She's in this darkness of ambiguity, uncertainty, and vulnerability, but she stands firm in that, not like crouching down or like giving to this darkness. And I name it a pink backpack. It's a symbol. The pink backpack, even though you can only see the strap, is really represent the past, and the future is how, many things in our life we cannot resolve, we cannot solve, right? We have just carry it, like the pink backpack. Again, the pink, I want to embed this feminine sense in it.
I just have a question that I think could be significant or trivial. Let's see. The graffiti that's in the illuminated circle that your daughter is standing within, is that real graffiti with those words and symbols, or did you make those up, imagine them for
it is real graffiti.
Okay, did it matter to you what that graffiti represented, or was it just the generic identity of graffiti that
it means to me, I especially like that stop. I like the heart, I like the stop, I like the block, almost like a block. This is painted in 2020. Thinking about at that time, the pandemic just started, everything stopped. Just everything stopped. But our desires want this pandemic to stop, so we can, a lot of
Well, that's really good information, I think, to share with our listeners, and it's certainly valuable to me, because it means, as I'm learning as we talk, that you are very thoughtful, you are very deliberate, and you made a reference to the Vanitas paintings of 17th century Holland. Just like those artists, we have to attend to every aspect, every detail of your images, because they are part of a constructed meaning. And you, of course, are aware, as all artists should be, that it doesn't matter what we intend. The viewer is going to read it depending on their own experiences. But this is, at least for me, something I'll always bring to your work, trying to think of the deliberateness and the potential intention behind why you've included certain things. So that's, yeah, your painting is very thought-provoking.
Yes, that's like, I really believe in like Banksy saying like the art supposed to provoke those comfortable, and but the comfort those are disturbed. Yeah.
So you're going to disagree with Matisse, who said he wanted his paintings to be like a comfortable armchair.
Oh no, I'm not with him on that.
I agree with you. Let's look at, I think we have one more. Yeah. This, despite what we've been saying, Siana, about your work representing your own life experiences and the issues that you're concerned with, but this just seems so immediate and timely. You know, we look at these images from the Ukraine every day. And of course, it's happening in lots of other places in the world. So what do the numbers represent? And is this a comment on a particular time and place?
Yes, thank you for asking. So this 9.9.2020 is a date, September 9th, 2020. And that day is like California made the national or international news, because at that time we have thousands of acres forest burned down. And then at that time, the sky was just like a very eerie kind of orange. This is like that's this painting. So that is like 10 o'clock in the morning. And then the sky is already like sunset. It's really like scary. And the air quality is really hazardous. So most of us just hiding inside the house and, you know, close the doors and not going out because it's biohazard, like level air quality. But my daughter, and she just like, I already made the plans with friends to go to see the, again, graffiti site. So as a mother, I just worried, and like I said, this is not a wise decision. I don't like her going out. But on the other hand, right, and like she is, as a young generation, doesn't matter what kind of dilapidated world they are inherit from us. Insist on living, insist on exploring. That brings a sense of hope to me. So it's a conflict emotion in this piece. Oh, and the second number is the latitude and the longitude of like the roundhouse. That's the site of the graffiti. It used to be it's a latitude.
I thought it might be that, but I'm just not up on my maps and map reading.
It's in Brisbane, in that California, Northern California. South of San Francisco.
You know, those polluted skies from the fires gave us some very vivid sunrises and sunsets here. That's how affecting this is. Well, you've certainly got a lot to say, and you're saying it very compellingly in your work, and you have a beautiful way of painting, particularly colors and textures. It's here more a muted palette, but still you're mastering color and light is very clear. So I'm quite impressed, and I appreciate you taking the time to talk with me so that I and our viewers can learn more about your work. And before we open it up for some questions, I just want to say that Siana is very representative of what we're seeing more and more in the MFA, and that is that our members are coming from farther afield, and they're really enriching our organization and especially our exhibitions through their participation. So having said that, and sort of run out of most of the questions that I had in mind, are there any of the listeners that want to add questions or comments? Elaine has made some nice comments. I wondered if she wanted to share something while we're all live and together.
Yeah, thank you. Really wonderful presentation and questions, and your artwork, Siana, is amazing and provocative and deep and rich. So that I think everyone who would see it would take something away, and something different potentially, which is what the best art should be and do, right? So so I'm really impressed, and I wanted to know if you have thoughts for, are you in the second half of your residency, and what might you do, or what different departure might you make, or a different theme have you stumbled on through all your work to this point? Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, Elaine, for your kind words and commenting on my painting. Yes, actually, I'm only here for 30 days, so I'm only been here for 30 days, so it's my first month. I still have 5 months to produce more work. And yeah, I'm already, if you can see currently those bird painting, so this is actually a collaboration with my late grandfather. He was a Chinese painter, and then I also acknowledge my past as being a bird photographer. So I use acrylic, not oil, on his painting. So that I find interesting. I want to do a body of work, just, with him, with my late grandfather, and, so let the world see his wonderful work too. So that is one direction. And also I'm doing some landscape. And I just find that the nature is so healing. My artwork sometimes can be perceived a little bit dark, like a kind of dark side. So it's like my going through, just like my journey. And I find like nature can be very healing. So I'm also going towards that direction a bit. And I haven't bring down the one I'm working on, which is a landscape. I took pictures at the Death Valley. Yeah, I hope I answered your question.
Thank you so much.
Siana, since you're in Texas and since you're exploring the natural environment, are you familiar with Georgia O'Keeffe's very early watercolors and drawings of West Texas?
Oh, really? I was not aware of that. I only familiar with her big flowers.
She spent a period as a school teacher in West Texas, and it had a lifelong impact and a transformative impact on her as a person and as an artist. So I think if you just, it's easy to find information about O'Keeffe. Just look up her early Texas watercolors and drawings. I think you'll find them very interesting.
Thank you. I will definitely look up. Yeah.
Again, Siana, it's been really interesting and even challenging to talk with you and learn more about your very compelling work. And I want to thank you for taking the time. I know you could be out painting or inside painting. And so thanks for taking the time. And Paige, thanks for your help tonight. And thanks to everybody else for listening in. As usual, we'll have these prepared, edited, and on the website in probably about 2 weeks, right, Paige?
Yes, we will expect to see this one in 2 weeks, and we will be able to view the last Wil Talk with Matthew Moore in the next couple of days. And all of those are on YouTube for everybody to view.
Okay, great. And we'll have another session in 2 weeks, and then 2 weeks following that. And I think that we might take December off. Thanks for joining in tonight, everybody, and hope to see you again soon.
Thank you so much.